6-wheel truck, salt shed.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, August 26, 2013. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda would be to discuss Mr. Shaheen's request to use an acre and a half of the Taft Orchard property. Come on up.
Nice doing.
Pretty good yourself?
Good. Congratulations, Mark. I haven't seen you since you've been elected.
Thank you.
No, the question that I had for you guys is the Fino property going down 16, the big fields on the left, Peter Hawks has that for his farm. Then there's a strip of woods, and then there's a little field at the bottom that's grown in with weeds. It's about an acre and a half. And I was wondering if I could get permission to put pumpkins in there next year. I'd go in and I'd mow it. It needs to be mowed or else it's going to be grown in with briars and brush anyway. And I'd turn over about 3/4 of it and put pumpkins in there next year. I just thought I'd ask. It doesn't hurt to ask.
I just want to check with council on it first, only because we did have a situation just come up with parking being used and about using town land where there's, possible financial gain. And I kind of see what you're saying is we'll get a benefit of keeping the area open as well as, you'll be able to, put some pumpkins in to sell them during the season.
Yeah.
I know that that's an open item with council right now as far as, like this, for instance, there came up a question about the zone, the people are parking in the...
Across the
street, and as far as, liabilities, not so much worried about liability. I think that, insurance can overcome that item.
How does Peter Hawks fit into that? I mean, he certainly makes money on the farm, and he mows, he harvests that field like at least twice a year, so I'm not doubting what you say, but
Sure.
I'm wondering, how does that all fit in?
The situation on that is that, and again, that's why I can kind of see you doing the same thing with the same outcome, that the fields need to be maintained anyhow.
Yeah.
So we're going to either pay somebody to do it, or he can hay them and take the hay so he has it for his cows.
Yeah.
And that's how that's always been. So, like I said, I just need to run it by the council and make sure that, we do things the right way if there's anything we need to do.
Okay.
And essentially, I know it's only $5 or something, but there is a lease involved with the field. And so, again, if whatever we need to do, if we need to do it legal like, then we'll just go that route.
Yeah.
I think, the other thing is, I think we need to set policy now, because this, to your point, this is about the third recent time where we're running into, town-owned land's being used for some other function, right? Whether it's for profit or
Parking.
Overflow parking, et cetera.
Yeah,
To the chairman's point, we're working with town council on that issue. We think there's a broader policy question that we're going to need to set, and then we can get back to you with an answer, I think.
All right. Okay. The reason I'm asking now is because in order to plant that in the spring, that's been sod for years. Jesse Taft used to plant corn in that field years ago. And I would have to get in there this fall, like in September, late, and turn it over once, and then go in there in the spring when it dries up, and then turn it over again to use it, because you just couldn't go in there and just turn it over once in the spring and use it, because it'd be all sod. It would have to be. So that's why I was thinking about it, and I said, well, if it's something that they would allow, that's something that I need to get going on like in a month or something.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
What I'll do is, I've got a couple of things I'm working with council with, so
Yeah.
I'll get that one to expedite, so at least know.
Let me know one way or the other.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. Bye-bye now.
Just clear, that's on the piece that's not any part of the RFPs, right? That are out there. That doesn't,
No, that, it's actually,
that's on the Don't need a map, that's on the other half, right?
Yeah, and the other, one other question on that too, is that is in the conservation area too, so I need to check on that as well, right? That piece is in the conservation area.
Yeah, so is the other field.
The hayfield? Yes, a portion of it is correct, because it goes up to 200-foot strip. Gotcha. All right, thank you. All right.
It would be a,
Still agricultural,
it would be a simple farming practice. It wouldn't be like a constructive
yep,
kind
agreed.
of thing.
Yep.
All right?
Okay, thank you.
If you have any questions, just call me.
Will do.
Thank you.
We want to move the financial discussion up?
Yeah, because I think there's a couple things that we could probably knock off as part of that discussion as well. But only if Claudia's here. Is Claudia here? We need Claudia.
Okay, well, wait. Oh, I think she said 7:30 she would be here. Consider signing an agreement between Town of Mendon and Lamoureux Pagano for new Taft Library Owners Project Management. We have folks here for that? Come on up. Good, yourself?
Yeah, so we had presented the contract through council, and we knew it was being considered, and we were hoping that the board had reached the decision that the contract was pertinent and it was okay to sign.
Did we
Pretty good status.
sent this to council? Did we hear back? No? Yes? Yes?
Your council, the OPM council worked with town council?
Worked with town
Okay.
council, yep.
And this is
So
the
I think it's
final
gone through it's gone through the legal evaluation, if you will.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chairman, I move to sign the agreement between the Town of Mendon by the Mendon Board of Selectmen and Lamoureux Pagano and Associates Incorporated for Owners Project Management Services for the renovation of 29 North Ave as the new Taft Public Library for the Town of Mendon. Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a matter of, so administratively, we will probably, as a board, we'll talk about whether we release a notice to proceed to the firm, but that'll be more secondary, more informational for the files, so.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Very good, thank you.
This would be more, the next one would be more in the financial discussion, right?
Yeah.
We can, to the same discussion.
Maybe the Margaret's position
Sure.
on what website?
Yeah, actually, Mario, would you like to come up? We'll talk about the town clerk's assistant and the new website. That should kill a few minutes. We're just waiting for the town accountant to get here for the financial discussion. I believe she should be here by 7:30. Is that true? Mhm. That sound about right?
So, talking about the town clerk's assistant?
Yes, we'll start with that.
Okay, I had 14 applicants, I interviewed 4 people. The former town clerk, former administrator to the Board of Selectmen, applied for the job, and I think she's the best candidate. She has the experience. I can actually appoint her as an assistant town clerk. She can be me when I'm not here. She knows the town. She has a lot of experience here with us. She's volunteered in your office for quite a while. She did volunteer in your office for quite a while, and she wants to just come back and do a little bit. So.
I have no objections to Peg. I think she would be a great asset to the town. Great.
So I do have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I understand that being the assistant town clerk allows her to do things that she would otherwise not be able to support in your office, correct? Did you have a discussion with all the candidates about the possibility of floating? Or
I did not.
Okay. So I'm guessing,
We advertised the position for 9 hours a week. We didn't have a discussion about floating. I did not have a discussion with anybody about floating.
okay.
I mean, I would assume that, you know.
I don't want to lose the candidate, because I know she,
Yeah, I mean,
she's-
I would assume that, you know, in a pinch, if we needed somebody to hop over for a little bit and your office was slow or you both were on, that I think that, you know, in keeping with the consistency that we've had, that would probably be doable, although I know what you're, you know, as far as what you're asking as far as a floating position, and I know we keep trying to kind of slightly move towards that. I feel like we make a step and then, you know, and when we just had the situation with, you know, for instance, the highway department's clerk, and then we're moving back to the other way because it didn't work out so well.
so I mean, I'll move ahead with this. It's more about the candidate,
Yeah.
but I will say this, we are moving ahead towards pooling clerk resources. It's going to happen, and we got to get off the schneid here and go with the direction the board is setting. So I think Peg, from experience, is amenable. You know, I don't think she's going to, somebody who says no, so, and she's a great resource, so, once again, I think we should move ahead with it. But, I mean, I think in general, I think municipal clerks, it's something we're going to continue to work at.
Can I make a suggestion? I know you just accepted applications for conservation for 10 hours a week also. I mean, if you're in your interview process, can we maybe see if anybody in that position might be interested in floating
Every
as
clerk
well?
that we go to hire should be approached that way, absolutely.
Okay.
So I think this board's been pretty consistent with that approach, so I certainly don't think there'd be any surprises. But if you'd like, I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
I move to appoint Margaret Tetro to the position of Town Clerk's Assistant for 9 hours per week at a rate of $18.02, effective immediately.
Second.
Discussion.
Just one more thing with that. Do we do a query check on Peg? I'm not really sure.
I don't know
what
that
the
we did do one.
process-
It should be as part of the process.
Okay.
You know, I would still, you know, if anything, if you want to, you know, effective immediately pending the query check, I really don't think that anything's going to turn up. I
Yeah.
think Peg's probably gone through multiple
I don't
query
think
checks
so.
with the town, that I don't think anything's going to turn up in the past year or so. So if we still would like to run one, that's fine.
That's up
amend
to
it?
you.
I think that just for normal procedure and standard procedure, let's go ahead and just add that to it. We'll get one done, and
Okay, so I'll amend the motion to include effective immediately pending query check.
background check.
All normal background checks performed by public safety.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Again, I wouldn't not have her start if you were going to have her start tomorrow. I think that we'll be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the website.
On the website. So you asked us, we came to you with a proposal for, with virtual town hall, and you asked us to go out and get 2 more proposals. We went out and we actually got 3 more proposals. Virtual Town Hall actually has come in at the lowest price. They deal with municipalities and schools, which we like a lot.
What was the price range, could I just ask?
Virtual Town Hall was for $6,000. Ashdown Technologies came in at $7,500. Plus there were pluses and training was $120 an hour for WordPress training. Software, the software service tax, I believe we all get that now, right? Is that the
I'm sorry, say it again?
software service tax? Is that something that went into effect
Based
in
upon,
July?
Not a conversation you want to have right now,
it's
right?
quite a horror show, to be perfectly honest with you. But in the realm of web development, yes, it's actually definite. They're either amending, repealing, but there's major discussion going on in regards to what the DOR had put out as far as how this is supposed to be applied, because there was a lot of questions, and especially in my arena of, okay, so if I install a printer and 10 seconds is taxable, how do I keep track of all this? So, because it's pretty strange. So anyhow, they're working on that. But in that aspect, that's strict development, and yes, that would be taxable.
So that's an addition. Then we had Town Web Design, they were $6,350. I think there was a lot of. Yeah, they were from Wisconsin.
Okay.
We went through, I had worked with Bill, and he gave us a list of different companies to contact to get proposals. And then we had Municipal Web Services, they call themselves MuniWeb.
Yeah.
And they were $98.80 plus another $28.40 for the first year, so it was almost about $12,000, a little over $12,000 for the first year.
And, I had another question. Okay, so this isn't an instance where we need to take the lowest bid. However, in my opinion, I would probably say that I would rather go with Virtual Town Hall based upon what they have to offer and the ease of use of their application.
In our research, they seem to be the most qualified, other than just the lowest bid, because they strictly just do town halls and schools.
And working with the other municipalities that I do, everybody seems to be moving to Virtual Town Hall, and everybody that has already migrated is very, very happy with the
It
service
is
they
the
provide.
easiest to use, the easiest to teach somebody, from what we've seen.
All right. I guess the second question is just budget-wise, where are we with this? Do we have the money in the budget to do this?
Well, the money is in the computer account.
It's in the
I'm sorry.
computer account, yeah, what's the name of the account? It's in the account already from,
For
our
sales.
current website. And once we terminated them, I believe there was a shortage of, what was it about? It
was a couple $100.
It was a couple $100 short for the first year, only, and then every.
That's right, because the way they bill it.
Yes, this is the way they bill, and then every year thereafter would be cheaper than our current
Right.
So,
Rich,
allocated funds.
did you hear that? That this current fiscal year, once we make the transition, we're gonna probably be a couple of $100 that we'll need to come up with to do this, but then in the ongoing years, will be less than what we're currently paying this year.
Oh, yeah, I think we discussed that in the previous year.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody's aware.
so did you say we terminated, or we're going to terminate once we have a new website and vendor in place?
Yeah, we have to make that transition.
So we haven't done that yet?
No.
No, no.
Oh, no.
We
We
would have
haven't even been approved to go forth with Virtual Town Hall.
You know what, you're right,
I heard,
Yeah, they-
but is there any issue, the longer we wait on termination, that we're going to have a larger shortfall in that account that Rich needs to consider? So my point is, at the point in time, we said if we terminate now, we're a couple $100 short. If we terminate end of November, we've got 2 more months of paying the current vendor. Are we further You know what I mean? Because the cost for
300.
implementing,
No, because with virtual town hall, it was, they'll work on it for us, and they bill us once we go live.
Right.
So once we go live,
right,
is when we should terminate.
their charges are not going to change. It's gonna, theirs is a
No.
fixed, right?
Right.
So say they're gonna pay, say it's gonna be 10,000 to go live, right?
No, it actually will
Okay.
change the later in the year that we go.
Yeah. 'cause
Okay,
it-
so they're building in a run rate based on when we go live. The fixed cost for implementation is different than the run rate, more than likely, right?
So what we're saying is, if you figured,
We gotta terminate quickly.
you had a terminate
So
date,
if we were to go, this was back in July, May, if we went live in October, they would only bill us 75%. So that would be from October 1st to June 30th.
So if we went later,
If we went
then they would
later, then
only
we-
bill us 60%, you know? So they'll make the billing so it runs through the end
They've
of
said that, or
June.
they just said
Yeah,
75%?
we have it in
No, we
the
have
email.
it, we have it right here.
And that's a run rate, that's operational costs versus implementation, or is that both? So you've got probably a monthly operational fee you're gonna pay for support, right?
It's a
Yearly.
yearly fee,
It's a
so it
yearly
would be
fee.
divided out amongst
That
the 12
includes
months.
the build and the implementation.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So we wanna, the one thing we gotta do though is, and this will come into the quarterly financial, is talk about, this is one of those items we wanna make sure we're covered on by year end or whenever we go live.
When we start with them also, our monthly payment will be less than what we're paying to the current website provider.
Okay, so now you're
Once
confusing
we-
me again,
once
because I hear
our
monthly
monthly-
payment versus annual,
Oh, well, yeah,
annual
that's true.
bill.
Broken out.
We figured it
pay
out monthly as well.
An annual fee, but we pay the bill monthly.
We'll pay it monthly.
Annual fee, and there's no additional cost to implement and set up.
I'm
That's a
talking about
deal.
the current. the
No, I'm
current.
talking about the new.
Okay, the one-time cost to design, develop, and train is $6,000.
Aha. That's what I'm talking about. So you got 6,000 plus monthly, right? Plus the 75%.
This cost would be spread evenly over 3 fiscal years, $2,000 per year. Fiscal years.
Yep.
Okay? We could start it in this fiscal year or hold off until next, it's up to you. Let's say you start next fiscal year in July, we would bill you $2,000 due within 30 days. Same scenario for July 2014, July 2015. And then the annual cost for host and supporting is the $19.95. This starts when you go live and can be prorated to
Right.
match your
So
fiscal
the
year.
1995 is prorated plus an annual fee of 2,000 to cover the $6,000 implementation.
Correct, so they
Just
wouldn't charge us
Just make
the
sure
six-
Rich has the numbers, because we're gonna do it, right?
Yes.
Because he's really not listening right now. He's over there talking, so he probably didn't hear the difference between the prorated and the
So
additional.
the $6,000 wouldn't be right up front. They would spread it out over
Understood.
the 3 fiscal years, which would make our payment even still less than our current provider.
Okay, so that's all baked in. He's got the numbers. We're all good.
Sure.
perfect.
Okay. We'll go with that answer.
So do we have approval to move forward?
Mr. Chairman, I move to enter into contract negotiations with Virtual Town Hall to provide website services.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Warren.
Chairman, who would update the content on the website moving forward?
That would be the departments, the individual departments,
Department head or?
or a designated employee from the town that would handle, they would, send bulk updates. The main reason for moving to virtual town hall is the ease of use to make the updates where they were having so much trouble before.
I know you spoke about this in past meetings, and I heard the folks talk about the ease of use. And as someone who uses your website, I'm interested in seeing that, because as you know, the website now isn't updated very
Correct.
regularly, and it's hard to navigate, so I'm looking forward to changing.
Yeah, so far everybody is, so hopefully that'll work out great. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Vinny, is Claudia coming? Huh?
She's right, she was actually right here.
Oh, okay, all right. Are we all set with the... Do we have that?
What do we do?
We're just going to jump to signing your contract, if that's all right with you. And this was the one we discussed in the last executive session, and I think we're all in agreement that that's where everything's supposed to be.
Mr. Chairman, I move to sign the one-year employment agreement between the Town of Mendon and Linda J. Hawks beginning July 1st, 2013.
Second.
Discussion. It would be made effective July 1. Oh, wait a minute. Well, it's effective. Gotcha. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, do you want to sign it? Okay. Ah, there she is.
You just keep on coming. Yeah, you're next.
We're moving on to it right now. Yeah, everybody was waiting for you, Claudia.
No pressure.
Anybody here for the financial, quarterly financial discussion, please come on down. Is yours still connected?
I can't get into log me in.
Yes.
Google came up, but then I couldn't get into log me in.
I won't bite you.
It's all right. I don't mind a little here and there.
Thank you.
We got enough of it to give away, trust me.
Hey, here, two of the same.
Mother-in-law dress Saturday. My son, my younger son, getting married Saturday. All right.
Got your back. That's under Diane.
What?
Never have scary words been out of it. They're starting to know me. Oh, man.
All right, first of all, thank you all for coming in this evening. I know
Okay.
it's still slightly late, but we'll move through this as effectively and briefly as possible. Based upon what was just given out, Claudia, if you'd like to begin with running down these numbers effectively and briefly.
Oh, not this. Two different things. It's a pair match set. We'll have to look on. Okay, let's look on.
The first sheet is our estimated receipts. You'll see that motor vehicle, we estimated $800,000. We came in a little short. We came in at $780,000. Other excise, which is your farm animal, we budgeted $1,875, and we came in a little short on that one also, only by $471. Meals tax, we budgeted $60,000, and we came in at a positive $33,000 on that. So we did well on that. Penalties and interest, we were a little low on that. We budgeted $39,000. We only came in at approximately $34,000. Water, we budgeted $145,000, and we came in at $122,000. Trash, we came in a little higher. We budgeted $347,000, and we came in at $353,000. Ambulance and dispatch, they're combined, and you'll see I broke them down at the bottom for you. The ambulance, we collected $184,900, and that is net of the $30,000 that I have already moved over to the ambulance reserve account.
Nice.
Dispatch, I broke it down.
I'm sorry, back that up again? Just walk me through that one slowly again. I heard net and...
Yes, the Board of Selectmen years ago took a vote to transfer $30,000 in excess of what we had estimated that we would collect.
Yep.
And that transfer has already been done. That's a journal entry that's made at the end of the year. So that has already been netted out of the 184. So in essence, we collected $214,000 in ambulance receipts.
Could you just slide that microphone over here for the moment, just so that, I just want to make sure it's getting picked up, and not your private conversation.
Okay. Dispatch, I have it broken down by Hopedale and Millville, and you'll see we collected the 40,000 and change from Hopedale and Millville at 47, and this year we will only be collecting, in FY14 from Hopedale.
30,000.
The $30,000. Fees, which, we estimated 54,000, we came in close at that at 52,000. Recreation, for the beach up there, we estimated 11,000, and we came in only at $6,100.
So I've got a question on this, if anyone can answer it. Now, is this the funding for the lifeguard? So, I mean, we talked about it being
Just the
self-funding and
beach.
all?
Yes,
Just the beach?
this is just the beach. This
We
is,
come in short of $5,000, how does that work if it was self-funded?
Got to pay the bill. It's not self-funded.
it's not self-funded.
Well, that's, my point would be, if somebody comes in a budgeting process, it's self-funded, we can reinstate these things.
Right.
And now we said, we're gonna keep an eye on this one because we were confused, 1 year it wasn't, 1 year it was.
Well,
So we purposefully separated the lifeguard line item.
Okay.
Correct.
And they may or may not have filled all the shifts when it got slow. I think they didn't necessarily fill them all. So we have to check to see whether or not they actually staffed up to the $11,000 level. So the fact that we're short there might not.
May not be an
a big
issue,
deal.
because they
Same thing-
managed to it.
Yeah, right, same thing back with the water. We have to do
Okay.
the same analysis on the water.
Well, they did
That's
spend
the
all
one I
of the
did.
lifeguard money.
They did, okay. so
All
you know
but
that.
$1.60, yes.
Okay.
and it can also be a timing of deposits. If they're depositing some of this money in June, that it's not coming into that fiscal year. So you'd have to look at that also.
No, I just think we do wanna look at it, because if somebody assumes something's self-funded this way, and we're coming up short,
Right,
we just wanna make sure we understand, well, where did that
Right.
gap get
exactly.
made up from?
Yeah.
And I actually had the same question on water, just because that number looked pretty big. I circled that one.
We're working on that. I spoke to Rich about that. The 145 number was actually an increase from last year that we had to document to the DOR. And we're working on the fact that only 116 was actually billed out for the year. And this 22,894, there's only a $9,000 delinquent on it. So there's an issue there with what got billed in comparison to what we were told was going to be billed.
Okay, okay, so if we could just make a list of, like, ongoing items that maybe we can pick up with at the next meeting, would be right now to find out about the
Water.
water and just check on the lifeguard numbers to make sure we're close.
Like I said, Rich is working on the water with them.
Okay, all right, if we could have that by the next meeting, that would be great. Or any future meeting, if, I understand,
And that
I'm
could
not
also
pushing anybody.
That could also impact our estimated receipts moving forward into fiscal 15.
Understood. Thank you.
Other department revenue, we budgeted 20,000, we came in at 13,000, so we were short $6,600. Licenses and permits, we exceeded it by our estimate of 131,000 by almost $65,000. Fines and forfeitures, we estimated 42,000 and we collected $102,000. So we exceeded it by $60,000.
So what are the sources for that number?
Marijuana.
That is registry fines, district court fines, which is the most of this, and then there's just library fines and dog fines.
Parking fines.
Yeah, parking fines, but that's minimal. It
That's
was
small.
the registry fines and district court fines.
Okay.
Investment income, we budgeted 2,700 and we came in at 3,500. Tax title interest, we budgeted 2,300 and we only collected 217 because I know Linda is in the process actually of doing some work on getting some more money into tax title and stuff so we can pull and generate some revenue.
So when we say get more money into it, that line item, that didn't get hit last year, right? So was this more of a timing issue, like due to the staffing and the turnover, we just didn't have a chance to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
And then miscellaneous non-recurring, that's $57,000 that we collected, and if you can look at the bottom, I listed them all for you. State grants, that was money for grants that came in later on than June, that were from a previous fiscal year, and they go into miscellaneous revenue. Veterans reimbursements, that was money that Robin had gotten back for some things that he had done. Insurance reimbursement, that was for claims, OJI claims and stuff, reimbursements from our insurance company to reimburse us for the funds when we had offices or other individuals out and they were getting fully paid.
I just want to kind of reiterate that, because we talk about that a lot when we're looking for funding for overtime and such due to officers and people being hurt, that there's that reimbursement process, so just want to point out that it actually does come back in.
Miscellaneous refunds from vendors for checks that, we issued that came back to us, duplicate payments or anything of that nature. Medicare D is a reimbursement that I file for every year, and this year we got $16,000 back on it, so. And storm reimbursement, that was a combination of Irene and another storm that we got $4,000 back on, and there was surplus equipment, a piece of equipment that Alan sold for $500. So you can see our receipts are up $169,000, but of that, approximately $60,000 is non-recurring that we cannot use in the estimate for next
Understood.
fiscal year.
What about the COA van? Where will that show up?
The what?
The COA van? Because that was a surplus
That's a different
equipment.
fiscal year.
Is that this fiscal year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so it won't show up till
It
then?
won't show up till next year.
And the other equipment that I got rid of, there's gonna be, another $4,500
Oh, great.
for FY14.
Again, like Claudia said, that's not recurring, so we can't
Sure.
use that fiscal 15. And I just want to go back and remind people that when they look at this estimate compared to the actual, if we don't have ironclad proof from one year to the next, a change in an amount, then we have to use the previous year's actual amount within $1,000.
Understood.
So for instance, licenses and permits, the previous year, we only did $131,000 in actual receipts. So not knowing how many people are going to pull permits or building, we have to use that number. Fortunately, this year, new construction was up, plus other permits, so we were able to come in. Same thing with fines and forfeitures. So everything's really based on previous year's actuals, and that's why, it looks so off. The only thing that doesn't come under that would be our water, and that's being checked into, and trash, because we should pretty well know going into the fiscal year what we anticipate for collections. And one more thing. After telling Jimmy Quirk what we collected in meals tax, he conceded that it was a good idea.
So just a quick question, so looking at the FY15, we need to use that middle column for,
So going into, we can't use the non-recurring.
Right.
And we're checking into the water.
Yep.
But if we use this numbering, and barring any department coming to me saying, I have reason to believe, and it has to be, like I said, documented for the
Yep.
DOR to be able to let me change those figures, then we're probably looking at about another $100,000 that we'll be able to estimate going into fiscal 15, that we didn't anticipate at budget time.
I'd be kind of curious, how much of this do you think might be soft? So licenses and permits, to your point, you go from 130 to 190, because we didn't know what would get pulled. The other side of the coin is when we start at 190, if the
But see,
economy
you
gets a little
can't.
soft, then...
That's one of those
Right.
things, you can't say to the DOR, well, gee, we really don't think, because we do have active subdivisions.
It would be more of a, to me, it's more of a, in these discussions and as we're going forward, we need to manage the idea that, okay, it's good that we're going to budget with that figure, but there are going to be
Be prepared.
surrounding, outside influences that potentially, we should start thinking about. Things start to go south, the economy, stalls, right? Building, permits don't get pulled. That's something we can see intra-year to understand if we think our receipts are going to come in low, correct? I mean, those should be things we should monitor day to
Yes, because
day.
Gail can give you periodic updates of what she's collecting on her permits.
Right.
But then again, it's seasonal sometimes,
No,
you might
it
go
is.
through the winter
It
with a
is.
very low,
And I want to respect everybody's time, but there would be there is one thing I'm going to ask at the end in terms of this idea of, it's going to be more around management reporting, whether that's a fiscal snapshot monthly, or, pulling in those permit spreadsheets we get, I want to see that consolidated more so we can start to see more of a trended view of what's happening. If things are flat, then the estimates are solid, good. We start taking a dip in December, we can plan appropriately.
Well, again, things that are building can also be seasonal, so you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
You might want to look at the previous couple of years to see
Yeah,
where
it'd
those
be very similar to
percentages
what,
worked out.
something
during
that
the year.
Claudia and I have been going back and forth on in terms of prior year, prior 2 years, prior 3 years, or what it looks like, point in
But for
time.
tax rate setting purposes.
Yeah, I'm with you.
These numbers are going to have to be utilized.
And I think as far as managing that, you're concerned about, okay, well, now your new bar is 190 on something instead of, and then maybe it doesn't hit the 190. I think managing that should be fairly easy. One of the first things that we'll be looking to do is to put FinCom reserve where we'd like it to be, and it's not there now. And the worst case scenario is that if we don't come in with the same amount of money, then we have some FinCom reserve that it comes out of. So I think there's mechanisms to be able to deal with that.
Absolutely.
Plus and forward.
Proactively, we just got to plan
Correct.
for it.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
raising any excess levy like we've been doing,
Yep.
and banking it,
Yep, okay.
or at least partial banking.
I know as far as the permits that I give out, I gave a lot of street opening permits this year for Comcast and Verizon for their wiring upgrades, which is not gonna be happening every year. A lot of permits,
How much do those usually cost?
125.
125. Roughly, 150, 200?
I'm gonna say 100.
Evidently Verizon did an extreme amount of work in this town last
Yeah.
year, because
And that's
my
not gonna
numbers
be-
from the DOR as far as new growth that they have coming in, astronomical.
Yeah, but I mean, that's great to know. I mean, this is more about understanding where the potential's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Good or bad. I mean, that's the only, that's why we have this meeting, so that's great to know.
That was, I believe it was
Yeah,
like
it's $7,000, $6,900.
$5,000.
No, it was $6,925 for
Yeah.
your driveway permits, and your trench permits were $325.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, so if those permits come in low, we're taking it out of highways budget, that's what we agreed to?
Great.
Okay, next sheet.
The next sheet is just a breakdown of all the departments' money that was turned back in fiscal 13, unexpended accounts. That's all that is. So I'm not going to go through it individually. It's approximately $62,000,
Excellent job.
okay?
Sorry, this is what?
This is
Money
all the
turned back.
budgets turned back, yes.
Thank you.
And the assessor's office started the reval today, the Department of Revenue was here, and so far, the word used was smoking.
Perfect.
And I'll be working on my balance sheet probably in the next week or so. That will be going in, so free cash, I would say, would probably be in about a couple of weeks,
Okay.
okay?
So this is directional until that gets certified, right?
Okay. I had a couple of things I wanted to touch upon. I know that just a couple of items that I know we've been discussing, and I just wanted to touch upon them tonight. One would be, well, first of all, we have the town administrator's position that we continue to talk about every week. We've added a couple of items to that weekly discussion. One would be, and this would probably be the first week that we really discuss it. I don't know if it's for this portion, but it would be the possible purchase of the Misco Springs that has a water source on it, which we're going to touch more upon shortly here. And thirdly would be the needs of expenses and a town clerk in the police department. I know that I've been asked to just make sure that we keep that discussion rolling so that when we're able to do that, we're able to jump on it. It's not a surprise to everybody. So I'm going to keep those three items on an ongoing discussion. Whether or not we discuss them at each agenda or each meeting, they will be there. Right now, we're looking at, I'd asked the chief, I don't know what I don't have a hard number yet for what an increase in expenses would be. I don't know if you guys have that number with you, but he did, based upon the clerk that they would need, it would be a $20 per hour position, add $15,000 for possible benefits.
Salary,
and
4160 for...
That's with the benefit package?
No, salary.
That's salaries. Yeah.
So 41. so
41,600 for salary.
you're looking at, 56
Plus the
possible.
pennies.
Yep, 56 and change.
Yep. So just keep that, I just want to make sure we keep that on the radar. Do you have an expense number
We're looking at, it's still,
fluid at the moment?
new, but, early in the year, but we're looking at, with the new officer, maybe the uniform might go up a little bit. Talking to the fire department, they're talking that their vehicle maintenance budget will go up because Zorella's not doing the vehicle maintenance. There's not an exact figure yet, but. I know
Right, and again, the maintenance, vehicle maintenance is definitely going to be kind of a floating target for us at the moment, because we're not doing any in-house maintenance at the moment. But we are definitely aware of that, and we got that, we're looking, keeping an eye on that. So the more, as things maybe tend to happen, I would say just maybe keep in touch with, if it's as simple as an email, to.
Can I just, to that point, one of the things, if I make a suggestion, instead of a simple email, can we get into a more formal protocol to put it in writing on, and I would even say and I'll say, nobody take this the wrong way, the larger departments like public safety, police and fire, maybe like highway, let's start seeing something more formal in terms of, even if it's a monthly meeting with us to update us, or something in writing, monthly management report, not necessarily financially based, but that's part of it, right? But what's going on, because I think there's a lot of things that are going on that I personally may not be aware of, but it might be good to kind of formalize that process, especially if we bring somebody on like a town administrator. I mean, that person would probably want to see some sort of information flow to a central point, so.
And I think especially now, while we try to get a handle around
Right.
the maintenance amount.
Yeah, the sooner we understand what's going on.
And your
real time.
expenses as well,
Yeah.
because there was cuts in there, and
Yep.
we've made do with what we could to get by, but again, as
We
we're in our
do have,
rebuild
the police
stage.
department does have a few things that we didn't anticipate, that we didn't put into the budget, which we should have, was the new equipment. We're running radar systems that are nearly 8 to 10 years old. Life expectancy is around 3 years for those things, 3 to 4 years, and we've kept them in good working order, but the maintenance guy that comes in and certifies them every year says, it's time to change them.
Well, I mean, I think this is the time to capture all that, because I think it might be in a better place for some level of investment in different areas. I mean, Alan, I know you've got things that are out there that, even outside like bridge repair, right? You've got a couple things there, but in general, equipment, start capturing that, so we have it on the radar.
Can I add a couple more things to your radar?
No.
Yes, what do you got?
Well,
Mapping?
is it- actually, that wasn't one of them.
Oh, okay. But that's already on the list.
One, the assessors would find me very remiss if I didn't again bring up the reinstatement of stipends, and and not just for the assessors, but for everyone involved, because I really do think that's important.
Yeah, and just so everybody is aware, the reinstatement of stipends is definitely one of the items that we're looking at for this year's budget when we do it.
You mean FY15?
The next one coming up, yeah. Because we did look at it really hard this year, and based upon, they were baked in there, and then we pulled them back out and said, let's go one more year and be able to give the raises that we wanted to give, and hopefully this go around, we're gonna give it back.
Okay, blame it on us now.
No, I'm not doing, no, it was us that made the decision, by all means, we made the decision. But yeah, that's, I mean.
And also the reinstatement of the senior work-off abatement program.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that those are both two items that we're definitely gonna
Thank
see
you.
happen.
I mean, but to that point, I think, we're going to start budget planning probably in the next 45 days, right?
Minutes.
So we want to make sure that those are brought up through your respective discussions as well.
Good.
Minutes.
Minutes.
Just caught up with it.
As far as that, so again, those are just some of the big items I wanted to speak about. I know that we can just kind of go around the room like we usually do, and if there's anything that you want to bring up, let's bring it up. If there's any questions from the other board members, we'll go that route. But want to start with Linda?
I'll have a couple of items on the special town meeting in November or whenever we have it. A couple little expenses that bill of a prior year. Another expense that escapes me right now. And I'll probably need more money in the tax title.
And then which line item?
Tax title,
Tax title? Okay.
to make up for what we didn't do.
Okay.
Nothing I can think of. The chair of the trustees is aware, talking about anything as far as the November special town meeting is concerned. but I don't have anything at the moment.
Okay,
Just
no,
was on hand in case you had questions.
yeah, no, nothing major, no major issues.
Not at the moment, no.
Alan?
I'd like to remind the board that I was still looking for the other person we talked about at this budget time that was going to start working for me after they were laid off from the park department.
When is that,
I think October.
October? Okay, I'd like to,
15,000 is what we need.
Rich.
That's what we're short, yeah.
Yeah, can we discuss that? You know, we don't have to bring it up right now. Let's discuss that. Let's just look at where we are and see how possible that is, given our state of the finances now.
The other thing I wanted to mention, I know that I had got we have some bridge work that we need to be doing on Bellingham and Hartford Avenue, and I'm gonna postpone some of that. I'm gonna do the really critical stuff out of my budget, which will leave me not to do something else, but I wanna, there's a leak in the Hartford Avenue East Bridge, and the way that bridge is made, they're made in sections. There's 5 sections that go in there, and one of the joints is leaking. Right now, I believe it's gonna be relatively inexpensive to fix, and I'm just going on the reports that I get every year from the state. So I'm gonna take care of that portion that I have to do to stop the leaking. The rest of it, I'm gonna be looking to have the money put in my budget for 15.
Okay.
So
to do the rest of that.
to that point, you're talking about taking money out of your budget you were planning to put somewhere else.
Yes.
I'd want to understand what's not going to get done, because what we may want to do is increase funding if funds are available, right? To get
Yeah.
it all done. So when I think about this sort of the monthly update to the board,
Right.
you can kind of outline, this is what we're doing this year, this is what we've done. I made a decision to defer this for the sake of this bridge thing that popped up.
Yeah.
That's the kind of information I'd be looking to see in this sort of this monthly update, because I might suggest that fixing the bridges and not deferring on other road work might be the way to go.
Yeah. Well, what I'm gonna do is, I need to replenish material at the highway department, which I have been using for the past 2 to 3 years. Pipe, I've been working on a load of pipe. I bought pipe, the last time I bought drainage pipe was a number of years ago, but I bought about 5,000 feet of it at like $3.25 a foot, because I was just looking into the new prices. It's over $6 a foot for the same pipe now.
Concrete?
No, plastic.
Oh, okay.
That,
Yeah.
ADS or hand core, there's a couple of different things. Other things that I have been going through and using are the sumps that we use for the catch basins. The frames and grates, I usually try to buy, because they come out of Brockton, and I pay a shipping charge when they come. So I try to buy 10 to 12 of them at a time, and they were around between $400 and $600 each. I've been working off of that stockpile. So some of that money that I'm using for this was gonna be to replenish the stock that I have. I need to have some of this stuff on hand in case of an emergency, that I'm not looking around trying to beg, borrow, or steal it from someone else. So that's a lot of what I've been what I plan on taking it for.
Okay. That's fine. Just kind of understanding the give and take, because it still sounds like replenishing resources is a flat-out dollar spend that doesn't require resources. So if we have, if we look at free cash when it's certified, we might say, you know what, Rich, FinCom, it might make sense to, this year, replenish your stock if we know the price is going up, right, as it's gone up, right?
Steel's keeps going crazy.
So I guess the point is, your decision, but lay it out for us, and at least give us the option of saying, hey, maybe we can shift some funds around because it makes sense.
Right.
To kind of replenish this year.
Right, and that plastic is a petroleum product, so you know what petroleum's doing. The other thing that I want to mention is our brush mower, which I wanted to get a new trackless to replace it. It's an 87. The clutch, we had a clutch put in it last year, and we had a major malfunction with it. It's at the repair shop now. I'm actually going to have a discussion with them tomorrow. about a warranty. There's only, I think, 51 hours on the new clutch. We spent like $5,000 for this machine to be fixed.
Is this the trackless all-purpose on your CapEx request?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Again, I'd like to remind you that it's an 87. Things don't last forever. I know that you can repair and rebuild. Bottom line is, from what they left it off at, they said that they would do half of the labor for me for this repair, but I've gone through the manual in the book, and from what they told me and what I think happened, I'm gonna have a discussion with them tomorrow personally to try to do something.
So just one last ask from my standpoint, and then I'll stop talking, I promise. Update on DPW, visit with Upton, and you were going to talk to other folks about recycling. You're expanding the recycling, whether or not there's an opportunity for other people to, not now, maybe for another meeting, we can ask you to come back in. 'Cause you know the whole trackless thing and shared services and...
Beautiful idea. I have been in contact with Upton, just to let you know.
Okay, great.
The other thing that I want to mention is the 2 pickup trucks that the highway department is currently using now, the one that I drive and the 99 that we have, they're getting really, really tired. I mean, extremely tired. There's well over 100,000 on the 99. Trucks today don't last like they did before, they rot out. My truck's a 2005, and I cannot believe the rot on that thing, and we wash it quite a bit. I'm looking into pricing 4 new trucks. I'm having a hard time finding what we want, because I want a single cab Chevy 2500. I want to get away from the Fords because of the rotting process. Chevrolet seem to be lasting a lot better. They seem to be better built. The engines seem to be better. My truck is going in the shop tomorrow. I believe it's going to get its 3rd turbo in the motor. It just things, and I've been talking with capital planning about these expenditures. So, I mean, it's on the radar. I have been talking with them about it. Just to let you know that vehicles aren't what they used to be.
Anything further from the PD?
Just to let you folks know that, it's probably not known, but we have 2 officers on the 3rd shift out. One is deployed overseas, and the second one has some serious medical problems.
Okay.
And it might be an impact on the overtime in the future, but I just want to let you know what the officers have been doing, especially the 3rd shift officers. They've been working alone. They turn their, not taking their vacation time, not taking their holiday time, and actually working to save money in overtime.
The person deployed overseas, I thought we replaced him.
We have another person on the 3rd shift. So we have 4 guys assigned to the 3rd shift. 2 of them are out, so we only have 2 officers assigned to 3rd shift.
And I think that one of the replacements might be an academy for the first 6 months?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, he starts next month.
The other guy's been on since June.
Yeah, and he has some serious medical conditions. But the officers on the 3rd shift have been actually working at no impact to the town, really, at overtime. It might eventually cost, when these guys start taking their vacation time. But they've been working, trying to make it.
And I understand that, and I thank you guys for that, but definitely when they have the opportunity to take that vacation time, please, I want them to.
We try to do, when we stack shifts, we let them take the times, but they're really working hard, and I think that they should be, the 3rd shift especially, should be praised for what they're doing to help out the town.
No, I appreciate that, 100%. The other, the person that's ill, is that going to end up turning into a long-term situation, do we know?
It's possible. He's gone through 2 operations right now, and the second one didn't take, so he's been rushed to the hospital. 3.
This is his 3rd one.
This is 3rd, so it could, we're
Okay, and
hoping to
just-
come back in November, we're not sure right now.
Okay, but and I know it's not a great thing to talk about, but in the event that it does, is there long-term disability that kicks in this situation, and then we would be able to hire somebody else? And
I'm not sure how that really works.
Okay.
how that disability and
We'll probably be getting close to that point soon, disability.
by November, we would know.
Okay, we'll just keep,
He'll be out of the time, use up all sick time, and,
yeah, understood. Yep.
So we're gonna go sick time to short term, then to long term, right?
Yeah,
yeah, he's actually using all his vacation and personal time and everything now.
Yep.
Then he uses sick and then
Okay.
deal with the rest of the sick time.
But if you think that that's gonna be a possibility, you should probably start the process of getting the application all together.
He was just rushed to the hospital in the last couple of days, so we don't know where he stands right now. So we'll know in a week or two.
All right, thank you.
But, it might be an impact in the overtime in the future, just so I can give you a heads up. Like I said, some of the small things that we didn't anticipate is, some of the stuff that just has wear and tear on the equipment has to be replaced.
Okay.
And I appreciate that you're considering the clerk's position.
Yeah, again, we want, like I said, we want to try to accommodate.
Dave
as
and
much-
myself have been, for the last 2 years since, Trish left, have pretty much taken up all the, clerk work, so.
Understood.
But at the same time, we're being taken off the road, so.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Anything from you guys?
And the only thing that I'm gonna say is Rich and I are gonna work together, next month. We had a meeting, we rescheduled it, we're gonna get together, do everything for the town meeting, because we have to do all the transfers for the salary lines. So we're gonna go through every single one, get the articles all together in preparation for the special town meeting in November.
Yeah. One of those items would be longevity, non-union, and update the personnel policy to reflect, find out what that's gonna cost.
Right,
We added a level of longevity for 25 plus.
right. And there's only one individual at that now.
Yeah, and I believe only 2 after next year,
Yeah.
right?
Sorry, question. But until then, we're paying people at the rate, including the longevity.
Yes,
everything
yes,
is again, right?
yes.
We're just not, we won't run out before August.
No, we will
November,
not,
right?
so that's why we have to go back into every single line and fund the salaries. So
Okay.
the town meeting's gonna be quite
Yeah, I
lengthy
just
for that.
wanted to establish that
Yes.
we're not like in any,
No.
like under the gun. The timeframe you set it up, we should be okay.
Yeah, well, I'm just waiting for a letter from the board regarding whether or not that's gonna hold true for all the other departments. The one individual has been paid, they're just waiting for the other 0.5%. So I need a letter from the board on that issue.
We'll send one over.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, we can send one over that we're going to have the
That's an action
adjustment.
item for us.
Yeah, a letter stating the longevity.
The next level at
Well-
25 years would be 3.5%.
Yes.
It's on the agenda. Okay.
Yeah, that's what and that's what we're discussing it right now.
And we will, shall I make a motion?
Oh, is it? Yeah, go ahead.
So I move to update section 5.3 longevity to add 25 years to 3.5%.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Sorry, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All set.
I think the only other thing we want to touch on before we lose everybody is maybe Chapter 77 transfers,
Okay.
just as a topic. So, Rich,
He's busy.
yeah,
Yes, let's go ahead.
do we want to touch on Chapter 77 transfer protocols while we have folks together?
Oh, okay, if I were prepared, I want to.
We can revisit another time. I mean, I think the gist of it is what we want to do with everybody's walk through, Chapter 77 transfers, what they're intended to do. We had a flurry of them at the end of the last fiscal year. So I think what we're thinking about is putting more specific guidelines in place so we understand when one should be used, and possibly we might actually let things go to bills to be paid of a prior year, because it's really an inappropriate use of 77 transfers to take care of that at the last minute, which means that everybody at this table, or around this desk, needs to be very cognizant of coming end of year, getting the invoices in, things paid, because the protocols around these transfers will probably be tightened up a little bit. And that's the gist of it, but the details we'll come back with to everybody.
Well, oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Lynn.
You can only use those Chapter 77 transfers in the first 2 weeks of the fiscal year anyways, right?
No, you can only use them from May 1st to July 15th. They were enacted by the Department of Revenue for the last 2.5
Latter part of the
months
fiscal
of
year.
the fiscal year.
Right, so, but what I'm saying is that if you're trying to avoid paying bills of a prior year, we would ordinarily have until July 15th or so. I mean, to get all of our bills in anyways. So I guess I just didn't understand how that.
I would probably say, in general, there's a lot of stuff moving around, a lot of moving parts, and it had more to do with the fact that we waited to the last minute and people got caught by surprise. We want to avoid that next fiscal year. That's all. That's from my perspective. We had a lot of last-minute 77s coming at us that we signed off on. We said, okay, it makes sense, but when we looked at it, we said, well, is this really something that required it, or could this have, been taken care of earlier, be taken care of later? Bills of a prior year is just one example, Linda, not everything was potentially.
No, but what I'm saying is you wouldn't have, within the first 2 weeks of a fiscal year, you wouldn't be submitting a bill of a prior year.
No, but I think the important thing is everybody really...
Because you still are within the time frame to submit it for last year.
Right, but what I think Mike's trying to say is I think people need to be more aware of their budgets when the opportunity arises for the special town meeting in June, to really take a look at your budget, start looking at them in May, that time, so then I'm gonna need X amount of money in this, I need to put a special town meeting warrant article on. Even if it comes to the point where you're not gonna need it, you can always pass over it, and we eliminate the need for this Chapter 77 transfer.
A 77 transfer should be a totally unforeseen, oh my God, I screwed up, I totally forgot this was coming kind of thing. Not don't worry about it, I'll just throw some Chapter 77s together at the end of June, so everybody has to run around, and there's not even a FinCom meeting scheduled anymore. And it's frustrating, because you have to get a lot of people together to get a 77 done, so, and if, even if we have it's hard to put a deadline on them, but, one sec, the thing was, we were coming in on Monday, and then Tuesday there was more, then Wednesday there was more, then Thursday there was more, then Friday there was more. So it got frustrating, and they're easily avoidable. Again, they're for unforeseen situations, not as a crutch because you didn't feel like looking at your budget. That's all.
So what I wanted to add to that is, as crystal clear and beautifully as Claudia put that first aspect, there's actually two aspects, right? The aspect she talked about was knowing it's coming down in advance, right? And using it for, the second piece is using it for a gotta do, not a nice to do, don't gotta do. Because there was some instances of that where it was just, okay, well, let me see, if I do a couple Chapter 77 transfers, I can expend the rest of my budget to squeeze something in this year.
Yeah.
And that's equally as bad. That's not really what the 77 transfer is meant to do. So it should be totally unforeseen and a gotta do.
So basically, Linda, I talked a lot to let everybody else formulate their thoughts so they could more, eloquently articulate what I was trying to say.
I understand, it's just the bills of a prior year weren't making sense to me. It doesn't, not within the first 2 weeks of.
I think what he was trying to say, Linda, was if you don't get it on the town meeting warrant, then let it go to a bill of a prior year instead of racing in at the last minute to get that Chapter 77 transfer, is what I think.
Or just do them all on one Monday for us.
Yeah, right.
Well, I wish it could have been done.
Right.
Believe
Might
me,
be able
I
to
would
put a
like if they didn't
deadline.
even have them. I think the worst thing they did, the DOR, was they allowed it to happen for 1 year, and then they said, we're gonna let this happen all the time. So if they didn't allow this to happen, we would be doing it at a special town meeting, and anything left would be going to a special town meeting to pay for it.
Okay. Anything further? Mr. Watson?
Mr. Chairman, did I hear the lieutenant correctly when he said we still have officers working by themselves on a shift?
Right now, we have, until the one officer comes back from the academy, that person is out overseas in the military, so we're just waiting for him to get out of the academy, the person that was hired to replace, and we do have somebody out right now that is on sick leave with a pretty bad illness, and they're trying to figure out what point that would turn into long-term, short-term, long-term, or if needed.
Right, so potentially, though, that could last 6 months while the other officers in the academy?
The other academy, the officer should be out in when?
February.
Oh, February.
And that particular situation was known, and it was a recommendation made from public safety to go ahead in that vein, given the candidate was strong and they wanted to bring him on.
Right, I understand that, but given the information that we heard tonight about the positive balance that the town is seeing, I think we're getting $53,000 back from the schools. Is there anything the Board of Selectmen can do tonight to rectify that situation? I mean, we've all talked about in the past what a dangerous situation that is, and I would say there's a great potential for that one officer to get hurt, putting us in even a further bad position of having people out on IOD. So I'm just wondering if there is anything at this point the town or the police chief can do to try to make sure nobody's working by themselves.
At this moment in time, it hasn't been discussed, but good point, and point taken. We will definitely put it on for discussion.
I think it would put us in a better position, you know, if that was to happen, if you guys were able to pull it together. If I could just get two more at you. I wanted to ask Alan, I see a myriad of patchwork around the town with the pavement. I'm wondering if that was due to the reduction in Chapter 90 that he saw, or was that just, he didn't have his, you know, enough funding in the budget to do what he wanted to do?
Some of the patching that we're doing is just patching because we can't afford to do the rest of the roads. If he's talking about the patching that's been done on Bates Street and Millville Street, that's a process that's not finished. That's not just a patch.
Gotcha, thank you. And then the last question I had was, so we heard tonight that we're 63,000 in the positive, and obviously somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in any of his numbers. And then the school is turning back 53,000, so that's a number of 116. Does that now mean the town is in the positive going into fiscal year 14 by 116,000? Or is some of that money, does that just go to the general fund? Where does that money go?
We're 169.
Actually, we're 169,000.
We're 170,000 in the
13.
positive. Minus 57, I guess, if you were looking at, to pull out the non-recurring funds.
Well, that's fiscal 13.
Correct.
Going into fiscal 14, that's yet to be determined.
Right.
Yeah, but I think it's critical we talk about it not as the 109, 110, because otherwise the thought sinks in that that's recurring, we don't want to spend that non-recurring stuff on recurring expenses.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure that's clear.
So, okay, so what's the real number we should be using here? So,
Okay, well, I just did a quick calculation. That basically it's 110,000 plus
Reoccurring.
53 from the school. Reoccurring.
Right.
So
Reoccurring.
call it 163K.
Yep.
Right now, we
163,000.
still
As of right
have,
now.
163,000 in the positive.
As of right now.
as of right now.
And it's one of, I mean, that's reoccurring, it's not certified.
Right.
That's right.
And it could be tweaked by different factors like the water.
And I think when we
for
say
instance.
reoccurring, we'd expect that might be something we're gonna build into our budget for next year.
Correct.
Yes.
Once it's certified. But then, there's non-reoccurring.
We already calculated that out.
We already took
No, I
out
know,
the
but I think
57,000.
that's also one-time potential investment, whether it be to stabilization,
Exactly.
CapEx,
CapEx
things
or
like
something,
that.
yeah.
So there is a,
Or
that's.
paying some overtime for a cop.
Well, I would say, I mean, I would probably say this, to the comment that you made earlier about trying to avoid overtime and people work and all that stuff. You don't manage to your overtime at the expense of staffing and vacation and, personal health. That's not the intent of this type of discussion.
Yeah.
There will be, there is FinCom reserves, so if OT goes up because people are on disability and such, that's why we have different accounts set up.
I'd actually rather them see them use their overtime.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather see
overtime.
OT go up if that means you're staffing better, you know what I mean? Because I don't think a permanent hire necessarily would be and I'm not suggesting you're saying that.
No, I'm suggesting just filling the gap until.
Yeah,
the other
I mean,
ones get
that's what OT is there for, and if it blows your budget, we'll find a way to deal with it, rather than, have people work.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's sick, somebody's sick.
Appreciate it, but.
I think it's very reassuring to hear the board say that and see the finance chairman agree with that. So my overall point on that money was, so does that put you now in a better position? I know you said you're not going to talk about it in detail tonight, but we've talked about it many times in the past. Does that now put you in a better position to consider the town administrator moving forward?
Without a doubt, that 53,000 from the school alone put us in a great position to handle with that. I know it was only touched upon briefly, and we don't know any of the numbers yet, as far as, new growth numbers. But then again, that's a recurring source that is another possibility that
And I do believe we'll exceed that.
we may not even need to ask for an override, and although it's unknown, and I don't want to, etch that in stone just yet, but things are looking good. So
We talked about it in our last meeting, and I think I don't know if we voted on it, but I thought the direction we're going is jumping to more of a search committee type of approach.
yes,
With sort of an eye towards possibly a 5-6 month mid-year hire.
yeah. Somebody actually
Yeah,
Plus,
somebody
they're watching,
come.
somebody already sent in an application.
What, the coordinator?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they've jumped the gun. We'll get back to them when we finally get to that point.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I'd like to recommend is, as is my usual practice, I keep track of all of the different budget risks that pop up that we haven't accounted for, right? So I've got a list in front of me, I've added some of the stuff that we've talked about tonight. And I'm always a big advocate for, before we make a decision on any of this stuff, right, is to look at it in context of everything we've got for a list. And I'd like to suggest that before we make any decisions, I clean this list up, send it out to all these departments,
Right.
everybody gets a chance to look at it. They say, wait a minute, hold on, Rich, you forgot this, you forgot that. Make
Yeah,
sure it's
and be
100%
able to
before you make a
prioritize it.
decision.
Any decision?
Huh?
Any decision?
Well, except for maybe one,
Well, and what would that one be, from your,
the coordinator.
yeah, I mean, I
Because I
don't
think
want to,
that's going to play into a lot of your other issues.
and I would like to suggest we should be moving forward on that based on
Yes.
prior
You
discussions.
haven't hired anybody yet?
No. Have you
No,
even
no,
got a
but-
firm in mind?
But I mean, I guess what I want to maybe suggest, are we in agreement that we're going to start to execute on more of candidate selection, search committee?
So we had a company that we were going to hire, is that, oh, we're going to do this?
Well, we had, on the committee, we had actually gotten some information from a company who deals with municipalities all the time. We were just in the process of doing Hopkinton. They have a list of other towns that they've done. I can forward that information to you guys.
Rich,
And,
one sec, Rich. 1 second. I just want to talk, what was the rough cost on that?
It depended. I want to say it's got to be somewhere around 5 or 6.
Search agency?
Yeah, the committee, and I do have some information on it. There's a couple of different options. They can go from soup to nuts, all the way to the end, okay? And of course, you're going to pay more money, but if that person doesn't work out, then they will do the whole process again for nothing.
I think that's...
Okay?
yeah.
And then the other process is you have to determine what you want them
What
to
doesn't,
do.
what do they mean by doesn't work out?
If
Like, that they
that
would quit,
can't-
or we would fire them?
Either or, if they weren't a candidate that would fulfill the obligations that you had wanted them to do, or the goals that you had made for them. I'll give you a copy of what I had gotten from them.
And I think past practice.
And you could have them come in and talk to you about it too.
Would
But
warrant
the
that.
committee, we all thought it was the best thing to hire an outside.
Yes.
An outside firm to do it.
Okay,
for you.
let's do this then. Let's solicit 3 quotes. Can we put this together? We'll solicit 3 quotes for firms such as these. We can use that one as our template to ask for it. And let's get, the quotes would be, broken down from, I think we just get the quote start to finish.
Yeah, I think. it should
And and we'll get that from 3 different companies so that hopefully by the next meeting, we can be able to pick one. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay?
I'd just like to make a point on that, just to make sure that any citizens listening or here, that people understand that it sounds like, we're spending money on something we can do ourselves. Now, if we make just a single mistake, all the money we saved is gone.
Right.
From a failed experiment. Right? So I think it's just so key we get this thing right the first time, since,
Yeah, I think I'm 100% on board doing this.
I just wanted to make that point.
Trust me. Yeah, that's great. Mr. Watson?
Mr. Chairman, as a resident and a taxpayer in town, I agree. First of all, we all agree there's a huge need, based on not having one for a number of years now. We need to have the right person step in right off the bat. So if it was done, I hate to use the word willy-nilly, and we made a mistake and got someone in here that didn't work out, it would set us back even further.
100%.
Yep.
Agreed.
Happy to see this happen.
Yep. Yeah, me too.
I think it's also important to mention again that at the time you had asked for the initial override, none of this excess was anticipated.
No,
School funding, we had no idea about, the new growth,
no,
estimated receipts. There was no way of us telling at that time that this would have been.
and ultimately by the vote, the residents are, and look, I think that we may have been a little bit laxed in getting the word out maybe, or educating some folks on it, so a decision might have been made that said, I don't even know why we're doing this. But a no vote's a no vote, and we told them we'd come back and figure out another way to do it, whether it was to ask for another override or do it this way, and luckily, we're in a position that, ultimately, had we had the override money, this money could have been utilized for other items that are on our
Right,
list.
certainly other things on the list, right.
But, given that the direction from this board was that our top priority right now is to get a town coordinator in here, that's the route we're gonna take, and we're gonna work through all of these other items that we have on our list, and we're gonna work through the process somehow. And there's some other ideas that, we'll probably, I think we touched upon earlier, at the last meeting, as far as CapEx, and probably even asking folks to, every year we put a little bit a portion of our taxes that is ultimately override money into the community preservation funding that we use to purchase land and whatnot. Well, maybe it's time that we ask that we take a little bit more and put it into the CapEx account so that we can fund the $2.6 million we're going to discuss here shortly that we have in our CapEx request. So that each year we can start to plug a little bit away, and if we keep doing that every year, and we won't be in the predicament that we're in. And I think that we have a lot of good ideas on the table, and this kind of stuff right here working together is what's going to get it done. Not just, everybody saying, I need this and I need it right now because I've waited so long to get it. So that's what we need to do, and we're moving in that direction. I want to thank everybody for coming in this evening, and if there's nothing further, we'll move on to the next item.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have some other... One second, we have a... What's that, the dental? Just turn it on. Or just let me. Yeah. Why don't we just... Yeah, at the next meeting, at our next meeting, we just put a line item to talk about insurances, and whether they be current employees or retirees.
What we do.
Just insurance discussion, I think, would suffice. Is that okay? Would you want to come to the next meeting? 2 weeks from now.
All right.
Just to talk about the insurance. We'll put you on the first
All
time.
right, thanks.
Put it first on the agenda if you don't mind, for the insurance discussion, unless there's any hearings that we have to do.
Thanks.
First general discussion.
Thank you.
Yep.
That one's discuss bond, that's not until September. Consider something. That one's done. Energy efficiency. Can I have the water board come up?
Misco.
Yeah, and this is for discussion of Misco, right? Misco Springs, yes. So just to bring everybody up to speed, Misco Springs, which was used, owned by Gorelick Farms, is a water source. It has approved grandfathered wells on it. Right now, there's some slight discrepancy on what was removed from internal of the building. We're trying to find all these details out. The water board is working diligently to find this out. And we have, it can still be used as a water source, and with Mendon being a couple of situations that we do have, one being, for instance, the school well, the town hall well, and certain other wells around town that even the Misco well, I think the water's okay there now, but you never know what's going to happen. That just looking down the future, that this is a good opportunity for the town to acquire a water source that we can, whether or not we use it right away, it'd be something that I think is a good investment for the town. Water Board believes it's a good investment, and I believe that there's some other folks on board with this being a good investment. A lot of other folks being on board with this, that this is a good investment at the time. So, again, discussions are ongoing with the real estate brokerage that's actually out of Texas, oddly enough. If you guys want to take it from there, I think that's about as much as info as I got.
I just talked to Harold Goldberg.
Can you just grab a microphone, sir? Thank you.
I just talked to Harold Ginsberg tonight on the way up. He actually called me. I emailed him over the weekend to try to find out what the status is, because it was under agreement, but the party that it's under agreement with hasn't come up with the money yet.
Okay.
So in a conversation, he asked me what we were willing to pay for it, and I kind of downplayed it, that we are willing to pay what the other person was willing to pay, because they virtually took the water source apart, not the water source, but the equipment out. And they took the well offline right now with the DEP. So right now, you're buying a piece of property with a well on it. And that's how I explained it to him. So I told him, right now, it's not worth any more to us than what it's worth to the other guy.
Right.
I said, we would love to have it, and I think the way he talked to me, he'd like to sell it to the town.
Okay.
But tonight he just told me, he didn't email me back this morning because he didn't have all the information. He says he needs about another week to see what the partners want to do with Dean Foods. But if the guy doesn't come up with the money, I think he's gonna send us a proposal on it.
Okay.
And, like I told him, we've talked with the DEP and stuff about getting that well up and running again, and, I think that it should be able to get up fairly easy, because it is existing, and they just suspended the use, from what I understand, so they didn't just kill it.
Okay.
It is a grandfathered well because it's close to the road. So you really, you could add to it if we want to put more wells out in the back.
Right, there's a possibility of...
Yeah,
a
you
well
can
that-
expand it because it's a well
It could be
field.
permitted. Okay.
So, and with the size of the property, you could add 2 or 3 more wells to it, because right now, where it's so close to the road, you can't extract more water out of it than what it's permitted for. So if they got it permitted for 200 gallons a minute, we can't say, well, we want 300 gallons a minute, because it will produce it. We can't take it out of it because of the proximity to the road. But you could always add a second well. And we don't need that much water anyway. Right now, I think we're only using about 45 gallons a minute.
Yes.
So the thing that would have been nice about it before is that if we got the place when it was still set up as a water use, it was just a direct feed to Hopedale, and drink the water right out of it. Nothing had to be treated, because it was already being treated there. We were about 95% there to having water. And I think the big thing, Mr. Chairman, that the town needs to know is that we're not trying to push this down somebody's throat to say we're gonna expand water all through town. Right now, we're forced, I just found out tonight that we're delinquent in the water collections. People aren't, we got high water bills down there. This could help lower those water bills, and like you just said, I think the main thing is that if that Clough School, their water is questionable right now. So if we can supply them water, or if that place goes dry, what do? You close the school down, send them someplace else? If this place goes dry, we close it down. There's so many things that we need to get a source of water in this town, and this is like a gift horse. It's there. We've looked, anybody that's followed us along the last 8 or 10 years since I've been on the board, I think we've drilled all over town, and we found nothing that can supply us. So we have it right there in our faces. It'd be shame on us if we don't take advantage of it.
It's definitely a good opportunity. We definitely need to look into it. We have to, and present it as we have to.
If Harold gets back to me and says, okay, the guy's not coming up with the money, because I'm 90% sure that, or 99% sure that the buyer that's signed on it is the people that own the land behind it. That's Sylvan Springs, I believe it is. And that project's been kind of just sitting still idle for a year or so. Nothing's been done up there.
It's been a couple of years, a lot of projects.
Yeah, a couple of years,
starting
whatever.
to get geared back up again.
Yeah, so, he could have an issues with money right now, and he'd probably love to have the land to make some road connections and things, but, the guy from Dean Foods there, Harold, he told me, he goes, I'd love to sell it to the town of Mendon for what they need it for. So we'll have to see what kind of a number they come up with, and see if it's within our reach. I think our main reason for being here is that we want all the boards to know that it's something we're thinking about, and I've heard that, the Preservation Committee's talked about it, and they're in favor of it to a certain extent. The Long Range Planning Committee's talked about it, so, a lot of, like you said, a lot of people are in favor of it, and just as long as people know that we aren't trying to jam this down their throat.
No,
We do have other things we need. We'd love to see the police station finished.
Sure.
But this is an opportunity I don't think we should miss.
As opportunities present themselves, especially in a situation like this, you can't just kick it to the curb without looking at it. It just took us, look maybe we could have been quicker with certain things, but look how long it even took us just to get a hold of this guy in Texas.
Took 3 months.
Yeah, it's not like there was a sign out front, it was almost, there was, it took a long time.
Yeah, we heard it was for sale from strangers.
Right, exactly. So I think that, again, this is exactly the path that we should take. Let's see what he gets back to us with on the information of the numbers. Like I said, we're going to keep it on here, on the agenda as an ongoing item, until it's something that grows some legs, or it's sold and then we take it off, but.
It gets sold and they passed, I was talking to them tonight, they said if it's not on paper, it didn't happen, so.
Sure.
So hopefully, nobody's signature gets on that paper by next week, and we have the opportunity, so I think Dwight's been talking to the DEP about a low-interest loan, and talking with, what's her name, Karen?
No,
Carol?
Mr. Chairman, I spoke with Susan Connors, who's at the DEP office in Worcester, and she's very familiar with Mendon. This is her area. She has followed us since we tried to make a deal with Uxbridge, but of course that didn't come to fruition. But I had asked her specifically about the well at Misco Spring, and she was able to tell me, because it's a non-compliant well, but that means it's only grandfathered. We just couldn't pump out of there more than it's already permitted for. What I got was that Gorelick had been taking 30,000 gallons out of it. It's permitted for like 45,000.
Per day?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, so anyway, but also even by the field cards here, it's 21 acres total that we're talking there. So, I mean, we could do off a push, all we'd have to do is push back. It's a wonderful source. And she also did tell me that regardless of what Gorelick has done to it, that they still are carrying it on their books for what they can pump out. So that has not been taken away, nor will it. And also, and she did say to me, considering the fragile state of the well at the Clough School and the Town Hall campus, and just keeping in mind, everybody remembers the Lowell's fire from some years ago, is that he said, you people need a source. And that's coming from a representative of DEP.
She also said that we could probably get it re-permitted, because before we heard that it could take almost a whole new re-permitting process because of what they did to the equipment. But she told you about maybe 90 days.
Yes, with everything there, because it had just been done.
Yeah,
Says-
so
and it says all-
that's huge. A permitting process for a new well is probably about 8 years, and probably about $5 million.
Right, so because the way-
You know, you're $5 million ahead of this game without even blinking an eye.
Right, the way it was explained to me is, yes, they took the equipment, but the well, I mean, is still there. There's no drilling to be done on that. That part hasn't changed.
Great. Great, no, I think it's a great opportunity. And
This is, well, I say, this is something that in the emails that all of us exchanged with each other, we've been looking at it as your board has and others in town, but it's going to take all of us to be in agreement to go forward with any part of it.
The reason I think we needed to talk to you too is there was, that loan is from the, was it US?
This is the Mass Water Pollution Abatement Trust. This is the form.
so that,
I had to go refill the copy twice.
It's a low-interest loan and stuff that has to be filed by the end of September.
Yes.
So, I mean, with people that we do know in higher offices, maybe we can get an extension on this if this is something that's gonna come through.
understood.
You know what I mean? And see if we can.
Right, it is a loan.
Paperwork, this is when a town administrator would come in really handy.
Right, I haven't heard if a grant would be available or not. I do tend to doubt it. This is, the low-interest loan is probably the best we can do to,
Let's get a number
secure any
first.
funding.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
See what
and,
we have to do, and if, if we need to go through that process, let's do it.
Even if we can purchase the land at a reasonable price, then worrying about how to get it to a source, because I think our first step would be going to Hopedale down Route 16.
Right,
and
because
connecting to
this-
those pipes. So it isn't a long haul.
Right, and this is
I think our first process is, let's get the land.
right, because this, even if we do this loan, it's called a planning stage. You don't actually have to do much with it. It's like a first phase type,
Yep.
For acquisition.
Let's get the price of the land first and
All right,
go
well,
from there.
as soon as he knows, lets me know, I'll let you know.
Okay.
And then, probably just have to get right on it. Like I say, the main reason was he asked me how quick the town would be willing to work on it.
Right now, the fastest we could do anything would be November, at the November special town meeting.
Well, I mean, but if that's the case, I mean, we could start the paperwork on this loan and stuff if you...
Look, I don't see any reason why not to start filling out a page a day or something. I mean, worst case, you throw it in a shredder, right?
You can send a letter to our administrator.
I mean, this sounds...
We don't have
limited.
one right now, so...
Our administrative assistant, and maybe in her spare time, she can start looking through it, filling out some of the paperwork.
In terms of the timing, though, this feels a little bit like the Taft Library.
Yep.
In terms of ultimately, town meeting's going to be the place where decisions are made, but we also worked with the Realtor there to kind of lock it in, given that we had that window. We had to wait to get to November on. So let's get the number.
I think that's our first step.
Right, I think we could hold their interest if they could see that, we're serious about it, and just understanding that we can't just say, okay, deal. We have to go forward.
I'm sure he understands that, and again...
He knows there's a process.
But we also have to look at it when he gives us a number and say, okay, is this a reasonable number?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we, I wish I knew what the exact amount was that it was under agreement for, because, like I told you, that's what I kind of said, that's what we'd probably be willing to pay, because right now, where they took the equipment out and dismantled a lot of it, it basically is selling land with some old buildings on it.
So we got to get the number, but we also have to have an opinion on what the number
Right,
we
but
think should be, right?
Right, but we're looking at it as a public water supply, not buying it up as real estate.
Right.
And I did ask
I think
Board of Health, and there has been, Sylvan has not filed for any well permits.
Look,
As of yet.
I think that we have to look at it as a land acquisition at this point. Although DEP has told us certain things, those are all ifs. I would hate to go by, I'd hate to take a $500,000 piece of land, spend $800,000 on it, and then find out that we can't use the well the next week.
Oh, no, it'd all have to be contingent on that.
Right, so what I'm getting at is, right now, we're buying a piece of land. We have to look at that, and the way we buy every other piece of land in this town is we go and get an appraisal done on it. First, let's see what the asking price is, what they're looking for, and we'll go through the same process that we do for everything. I mean, at the same time, we have to also look at it as, okay, we are buying this for a certain thing, right? So there may be some wiggle room there, but at the end of the day, if we have to get financing for this, we have to get an approval, whether it be from that, or if we do a note, we have to get approval from the financing company, which generally is gonna look for an appraisal and then tell us whether or not they're gonna...
Well, don't issue any demolition permits on the buildings that are up there.
No problem.
Because I heard that was the next step, that those buildings were coming down.
Understood.
So we don't want to see those come down.
Understood. Mr.
Especially-
Watson?
Mr. Chairman, do we have a commercial real estate agent working with the water board now? And if not, should we participate involved at this stage?
We do not yet. I think that right now what we need to do is get let's get some numbers from the actual brokerage that's handling it in Texas, and then we can move forward at that point. We can interject that at any time.
Yeah, the brokerage in Texas works directly for Dean Foods.
Right, they're the selling
And
agent.
They're the selling agent for them. They actually, Corellic Farms is owned by Dean Foods now. So they're the ones that own the property, so they're the ones that are selling it off.
Mr. Schofield?
Mr. Chairman, I presume that before a decision is made, right, we know how much it was going to cost us to run pipe from there all the way to where it's going to go, and how that would get paid for and all that stuff.
Sure.
I'm a little concerned about that.
Well, again, there's a couple ways to look at this. We can definitely get those numbers. The two ways to look at this is, A, let's get it, and we're gonna run pipe right away, and we're going to feed this portion of town, and it's gonna connect to Hopedale, and we're gonna backfeed the water users that are on the other side of town, right? Through Hopedale. Or there's, the other way to look at this is, look, Mendon needs a water source, whether we do something with it 10 years from now, or we do something with it 6 months from now, we definitely need a water source at some point. And it's just an opportunity for us to get one, maybe at a low cost. Whether or not we fire that well up the next day, I think that those are the decisions that need to be made. Because if it's $5 million to run pipe down here, we're probably not gonna do that the month after we buy it. But in our capital plan, we might stick that $5 million in there. And again, $5 million is an arbitrary number, I don't know.
our master
You're not
plan,
talking
right?
that much. We were talking, I think, going to Uxbridge was $1.5 million,
Yes,
and that was 4.5 miles.
right.
4.5.
I think it was 4.5 miles.
And remember, that was gonna be on State Road too, because that was part of
State
it.
Road and everything, so it was a lot of repaving and stuff.
So I think that, again,
It's talking about.
land acquisition, expansion, all that stuff needs to.
Secure it first, then we can figure
Right, you
what are the
guys,
opportunities.
everybody's just gonna keep in mind that when we drilled, because I
We had
did
trouble.
all the drilling. I
We
was
had
there.
trouble.
And we drilled everything from this town hall down to where the water uses, there's no water. There's water, but it just doesn't
Exactly.
replenish
I was
itself.
there with
It's
you.
all sand. And it just won't replenish. So all the water from the glaciers are on that side of Washington Street, actually going downhill. That's where you're gonna find all the water. All the wells down that area are great. So, like you said, you secure the property, you got 21 acres, where it is a well field and it's not a dug well, you can add to it. You can put one 50 feet away this way, 100 feet away that way, and it all feeds into it, and you're gonna be good, for a good long time. I think it's a one-shot deal for property that will eventually, if the water does get through the whole town over the next 30, 40 years or whatever it takes, you'll have a source that will supply it. And that's what you need, that's what you're gonna look for, something not to just to supply the people down there because it's not worth it. It's gotta be something that's gonna
Be beneficial and
it's
expand
gonna
it.
benefit the next
and
generation in Mendon.
Expand as you need it.
Yeah, it's just like, and we talk about it in our meetings, and there's a lot of areas in town right now that have wells, that, the newer areas that had 2 or 3 wells in houses that are only 10 years old. So they're gonna go dry, because I've heard talk about new projects coming in, I have a well that's producing 13 gallons a minute, which is minimal, and then the next house gets built and they tap the same vein, well, they get 8 gallons and I'm down to 6. And the next, so on and so on, as people tap the line, so eventually, you're gonna have a lot of people in here screaming that they have no water. Like Vincent Road area, geologically, there's no water up there. It's amazing that people have water in wells, and that's where 90% of, a lot of those people up there have already had 2 wells each.
Oh, they're all 600-700 feet down there.
Yeah, and there's very little, like the minimals, like 6 gallons a minute, like, take a shower with a cup of water, my friend.
So, if they're gonna be building all these houses all through that whole property, do we know how that's gonna affect?
Those are down, that well up there isn't that deep.
Oh,
So, I think those are gonna be further down. There's a ton of water in that area,
Has there been a hydrology study on that at all recently?
No, we haven't done nothing
Yeah.
on it because, that place has been in existence for 200 years. I think they've been pumping out of there, something like that.
How many?
A couple hundred years, isn't it? That building's in the 1800s, isn't it? I believe. Maybe somebody else knows more about the dates on that building, but.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought it was late 1800s that building came online.
Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would not know.
So just a simple yes or no will do, because I obviously trust your opinion, Vinnie. So you're confident that there's no doubt that there's plenty of water there? Whatever you've done, whatever you know about,
Yes.
what you guys, there's plenty of water?
yes, the
Okay.
stats that we're getting from the Board of Health that they were pumping out of there.
Actually, the town of Hopedale would have loved to buy it.
Gotcha.
That's what they said. They said that's a source. You guys, you missed this, you've lost out on a lot.
Mr. Watson?
Mr. Chairman, I live on Cadman Road, and so I'd love to see the town buy it if that's the way the town decides to go, because if it stops the truck traffic, that might come in with a new buyer, I'd be very happy to see that. However, living on Cadman Road, I just spent $7,000 the end of last year, because our water's terrible. So we had to have a system put in. We don't have a problem with the water pressure in our well, but it's just the quality of the water. So a couple of questions. So number one, we know why the relics pulled out of there?
Yeah.
Do we have a definitive answer on that?
Yeah, they lost their, they used to supply Stop and Shop with bottled water,
All right.
and they lost that contract, so they had no need to bottle water here because the shipping was too far away to
So it
water.
wasn't water quality
It wasn't water quality, no.
That's good to hear. And so if the town did go forward, and again, I know this is a very early stage, if the town went forward and purchased that, and we started running pipe, would the homeowners be obligated to tap into that if it ran by your house if you already had a well?
No, but.
Our
check-
water.
No, you won't be required to tap into it, but, standard procedure is a betterment fee, meaning that, okay, by that water pipe being in front of your home now, or sewer pipe, whatever it might be,
Right.
you actually, your house is now worth X number of dollars more. But, so you would, more than likely, any pipe that passed that, a resident's home would incur a betterment fee.
They would, if they were running pipe by your house or down Northbridge Road or whatever, they would put a curb stop in front of every house. So that way, if somebody wanted to hook into it, it was already there. Then they would pay their main fees to hook into the town water.
I mean, we'd probably tie in because our water's terrible. If it was quality water, it'd be something we'd be interested in.
Well, that's the biggest thing people don't realize with wells, and we've had this discussion many times in Mendon, that, well, I have a well, I got free water. Well, as you say, you pay $10,000 to have a well put in, then you pay $7,000 later to have it treated, and guess what? Nobody's testing your water for the quality. Once it becomes a town source, we test constantly to make sure that water quality is good. We have to, but nobody tests their wells. I mean, you ask anybody in this room that has town, well water, when was the last time they had their samples taken from their well?
3
and
months
brought it
ago.
down?
Yeah, I'm not, this isn't a good choice, that's right.
That's all there is to it.
You just said not testing. You just said not testing.
Any municipal water source is tested even more than the Poland Springs you buy in the
No, I
store.
agree, I agree. And then just one last question,
Yeah, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman.
Yes.
I just, and I'm sure you, if you haven't done this yet, you'll look into it. So we're pretty confident there's no other suitable location either owned by the town or for sale that would be a better deal. And I guess I hear based on how long it may take for permitting and things of that nature,
Right.
this is the best option.
Well, let me just tell you about one source that we did try to drill on, but it was close to the Charles River. And the land was up for sale for, I think, $500,000, down 140, if you remember,
Which piece was it?
Pettinelli.
Okay, yeah.
And then, when he found out that we wanted to drill on it, now the price went up to $1.5 million. But he also wanted to protect his airspace above his property and everything else, and all his rights to it, and, it just becomes more expensive when they know that's what you want it for.
Yeah, as far as what you're saying, yes, we tested, I don't know, I want to say a dozen.
Yeah, at least I probably poked about
A dozen
10 to
locations
12 different
that we
locations.
had access to, or that actually we thought were promising, and they all yielded I think the one, especially the one down by the river down by your house.
Oh, man, we were jumping up and down. It was like a geyser. The stuff was coming up like crazy. We said, yes, great. And then just the recharge just didn't come back. It wouldn't
Well, I
keep
know
up
in a
with.
past meeting, there was a gentleman here, I don't recall his name, but he asked you about a piece of property that was given to the town by a builder heading towards Hopedale, down, so if you come down.
Oh, okay, yep,
Yes.
down over here, yeah,
Right.
it's, Cobbles and Old.
Gotcha, yeah.
You need an 11-acre site, minimum.
Yeah.
You need a 400-foot
The
radius
huge-
around a well.
The huge
a well
benefit
source.
to this, is there's an existing well that's permitted, and that's the huge financial benefit to it.
Yeah, to go sink a dry well, a dug well, which is your best source, is a dug well, and get it permitted and everything, you're probably talking 8 or 9 years and probably $8 or $9 million to take care of before you can run a pipe. So you're 90% there on that. Your next step is just you get it up and running, purchase it, get it up and running again, and then worry about where you're gonna send that pipe and how you're gonna get it to where it needs to be,
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you.
Capital? Linda, did you have anything else on? Okay, just wanted to make sure I wasn't making you wait.
Well, the bands,
Bond?
the BAN.
Yeah, but you said not till September.
I just want to make sure.
Okay, thanks. Come on down.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I saw on your agenda that you might have some discussion on online permitting.
I think that's one of the ongoing items.
Are you going to have any discussion on that tonight?
Go ahead. Yes, we can. Anything's up for discussion.
Okay, so I just saw that on the agenda. I don't know if you were going to get to it or not, but...
I don't think we had anything new, just so...
Okay, well, just so you know, as you may know, I'm a manager for a larger electrical contractor in Worcester, Mass. And, we pull permits all over the state. We're licensed in 5 states, so we work all over. And I've had the opportunity over the last several years to try to apply for my permits. Some of the towns actually use that site, that provider there, that Geo. I haven't had a lot of good experiences.
Okay.
Just so you know, just to give you some feedback. And as a matter of fact, if you talk to the town of Woburn, they had it and they got rid of it. City of Danvers uses it. They pitch it off as it's going to save you administration time in your building department, but it really doesn't.
Okay.
Because what happens is, especially in the commercial side of construction, there's a lot of dialect that has to happen between the person pulling the permits and the inspectors, dropping off, drawings for review, coordinating, permit fees. The online application doesn't allow you to do that. All it really does is allow you to fill in the form, and you send the form, but if you have any questions, you still got to call and talk to an administrator, and if they have any questions, they still got to call you and ask questions, and all you really did was, instead of filling out the form with a pen, you filled it on with a keyboard. City of Worcester had a similar system a couple of years ago, and they actually abandoned. If you go to the building department in Worcester, you'll see right next to the counter, there's a PC that's shut off and abandoned, because when you came in personally, you would sit down and do it on that workstation, and they actually shut off the workstation. They don't do it anymore.
Okay.
So just to give you some feedback, some towns, there's communities you can talk to and get feedback from them if you
I'll
want.
definitely call Danvers and Woburn. Thank you. Check that item off the list. We discussed that.
Wow. I haven't seen any pricing on that either. I requested that already.
And town council also reviewed it, and I'd forward you his comments, and there were a lot of things that he suggested be
The online
changed to that
permitting
contract.
Still on review. How's that?
Well, I would probably say the funding, the costs were in the emails that we've forwarded around, so they've been forwarded.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd probably say that if we don't want to do it, that's probably our prerogative, but I'd also want to circle back with some of the folks that saw it. So, Upton seemed pretty high on it, Blythe.
Yeah, well,
so-
now that they've been running it, let's check and see how they've been working out with it. And I'll definitely check with Danvers and Woburn, too. Danvers and Woburn are slightly larger towns.
Yes.
Probably more
Yes.
commercial development going on.
Yes,
there.
and again, if the majority of your permits are residential permits, it's not as bad. All right, I'm just going to put it, I'm going to wire a new house, it's $175.
It's still interaction, though.
There is, absolutely.
It maybe cuts down on paper. Okay, so let's go down the Capitol Road.
We're not really gonna go through every single one of these items out.
Yes, Alan?
Yes, listen, you had your half hour when you were up here earlier in your quarterly review, and now I want to have my half hour.
Your half hour, you got 15 minutes. Hold on a second.
Rich, is
Alan?
2 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you gonna discuss the contract for the energy people that are doing the highway department? If they are,
That's number 7.
the question I have is, on the weather...
Sorry, can you come up real quick?
We're going to bump capital for a few minutes for this
One
quick
sec.
line item.
Which one was that?
Okay, what was the question?
The weather stripping at the
Yep.
highway department that they're installing,
Oh, yeah, okay.
I just would like to know what they're putting in for that kind of money.
Okay, so it's Mendon Highway Department weatherization garage bay doors. We're looking at weather stripping for, how many doors you have down there? Huh?
9.
9 doors. So we got 2 floodlights. We have two floodlights for $2,200?
Right, I'm not worried about that, I'm whether,
But why are floodlights $2,200?
yeah.
Okay.
I would just like some kind of explanation on
Garage
what's going
bay
on.
doors,
Yeah,
$6,300?
yeah. I would just like some kind of clarification on what they're doing down there, because to be honest with you, I was not at all happy with what went on there so far.
Understood.
With that.
Yeah, I know you had issues with it. Okay, so let's do this.
I'd like to meet with them.
Okay. I would like to approve this pending your discussion
Thank you. That's
with
all I
with the
want.
contractors.
Beautiful.
All right?
Thank you.
Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
This is being funded through Green though, right?
Yep.
Assuming.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
but I
is.
gotta live with
Out
it.
of that.
No,
Understood. Yeah. But it's in terms of the cost, the question of the costs.
Well, I still, even if it's not a green, I don't want to spend $6,300 if it's only a $4,000 job. That's all I'm saying. It just, whether, I don't know what weather stripping costs to do on 9 garage doors. It's probably, it could be $6,300. Just see,
But I'm just kind of
when you
curious.
just say weather stripping, you think of your
I'm sure the
house front door, and you buy a $5 item down at the Home Depot, and you slide it on the door, and
So that would be great, what you just said.
right. Okay, so, if you want to approve that, just pending discussions with Highway Department and his approval before it's installed. We can circle back around if we have trouble.
Thank you.
I move to sign the energy efficient project order dated March 1st, 2013 to install the 2 LED floodlights at Highway Department Building, and the energy efficiency project order dated February 19th, 2013 for Mendon Highway Department weatherization on the garage bay doors pending review and agreement by the highway supervisor.
Second.
Surveyor.
Thank you.
S, right?
Watch out.
DHS. Discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Sorry, guys. All right. We'll sign those as they come by. And CapEx discussion. 15 minutes, go.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I'm assuming you know the three of us, introductions are not necessary. We have met with most of the departments. You have here a draft sheet, tracking sheet. You'll see that under cost, there are some missing line items. We are still waiting for that, more concrete numbers from departments. Parks Department still owes me some pricing. Alan owes me one price for a salt shed. Fire Department owes me some pricing as well for some of their concerns. With what we know today, we currently are looking at $2.6 million of capital expenditures for seed through the next 5 years. The committee did get together and has created a priority. So if you see the priority column there, you'll see 1s, 2s, and 3s. If it's a 1, it means we feel it's an immediate need. If you see a 2, it means, a need within the next 2 or 3 years. And if you see a 3, it would fall more toward the 5-year forecast. I expect that once we fill in the blanks, you'll probably see more like $3.6 million. And that's where we're at today. I did meet with you, Mr. Chairman, a couple of weeks ago about an idea of how we can start funding CapEx line item in the budget.
1 second. Till what, just we have, till the CD runs out? Till the CD runs out? Do you want to change it? How long does it take to change it? We burned up another minute. All right, I think it's pretty important stuff, so I think that, why don't we, just before we start on this next piece, why don't we swap it out right now? Take a 5-minute recess.